I saw it, bro. My eye bullet class
Man.
was like out of 200. My eye bullet class was 180 West Pointers. I know what y'all do. I've heard the stories.
Man, yeah. The core has, not back in my day. Back in my day, it was all good.
Yeah,
The core has.
We'll see. Oh man! All right, we'll dive into this, brother, and try not to laugh too much this whole time. Oh man! Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Tactical Leader. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Randall Crowder, and we're going to talk about Phunware, Phuncoin, and just overall a lot of fun chopping up between two veterans. Before we begin, I'll remind you that this show is brought to you by Be a Tactical Leader. We're over there creating a community on beatacticalleader.com. If you're interested in building a business while having a strong community attached to learning and masterminds, head over to beatacticalleader.com and find out how you can join in on the community. Randall, welcome to the show, my friend.
What's going on, Zach? I appreciate you having me. And we talked about this before we started, but I love the organization, my man. Like talking to a veteran, dialing in the process. You know, people can consume content, have calls to action. You know, get your insights. That the first format like this I've seen, so I gotta commend you.
All right, just so y'all know, I didn't pay him too much for that, but I appreciate it, Randall. This is, you know, it's funny, and I'm going to call this out, and I love starting the show in this way. We've talked for 23 minutes before ever hitting the record button. That is very rare. I usually knock it out. Like you said, we're structured vets, man. I knock it out and I get rolling, but I don't think we stop laughing. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. And I want to give the audience just a little bit of insight before we dive into too much of the conversation where, like we mentioned, you're a veteran, you're an Army guy, went to the wonderful, with air quotes, West Point. You have an MBA from Macomb School of Business. You have founded several companies where overall the big piece is you're the COO of Phunware, you're a co-founder of Phuncoin. We'll dive into all of that. It's a bunch of smart people work that I don't understand, so we'll kind of chop it up on that. But for the most part,
I don't understand it either, my friend.
So that's where we're going to chop it up. Is I'm an operations guy as well. I don't deal with any of the smart people stuff. I structure, I build, and I roll. And I think that's a lot of what you focus on as an active investor and entrepreneur. You know what it takes to successfully launch and grow business. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun there. And then, of course, it really highlights the rise of cryptocurrencies, where you like to speak on entrepreneurship, venture capitalism, healthcare, and those cryptocurrencies. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to chop it up quite a bit. But before we dive into it, let's hear a little bit of a fun fact about you. Tell us something that we might not know about your background, your story, or even the West Point Wood Snuggles stories that we can always chop it up about.
Look, what happens what happens in the woods stays in the woods, Zach. I already told you that. Like I can't. That is confidential. I have not evaluated your TS clearance yet. Listen. What happens? West Point's a very inclusive. You know,
so tune into the solo cast on Wednesday. I'll tell you my experiences with the West Pointers in the woods.
You know, by the end of this, I'm going to try to think of something. I will say I hate talking about myself. I love talking. I love chopping it up with people, especially people I respect. So, you know, that's why we spent 23 minutes talking. Being real introspective and like thinking about like things. Like I'm not one of those people that can like throw diplomas on the wall and like have little like, you know, walls of me. And so I'm gonna frame, because I know we're gonna talk about bio. It's not really exactly a fun fact, but it's something that, you know, as you think about what I've done, I can't really take credit for any of it. So a fun fact would be I've made a career out of collecting jobs I'm utterly not qualified for. And, you know, I've gotten really good at surrounding myself with really smart people who have put me in really exciting opportunities. And I've ridden with that. And so I never met a challenge I didn't like, and never met, you know, a situation I didn't want to make better. And I think that willingness to just kind of dive in and try to add value has defined my career. But most people, when they listen to my bio, they're like, why are you doing that though? Like, I get what you do, but how are you qualified to do it?
Yeah.
So,
and that's funny. I'm not going to say I thought that exact thing, but I might have thought that exact thing where
Everyone
I'm,
does. It's all right.
man, and
They're like,
I get
shouldn't you be in the UFC or something?
right, right. Like, and I get it because a lot of people that want to work with me because of the operations experience, right? Because of our mindset that is attached to entrepreneurship. We talked about the Army giving us so many great things over the years, but really the big thing is, discipline and structure, the intrinsic values we get out of the military. Obviously, you have some amazing stories from the battlefield, but how have you taken those lessons into the boardroom?
Man, one of the best things that I think, a lot of, men and women in the military have almost taken for granted. I mean, I always tell people they should read that book, Startup Nation, because it really talks about how, Israel took their entrepreneurial climate and really trace it back to, serving. And I think we don't see that exactly the same way in the States. Like, I think a lot of people, a lot of soldiers get out and don't really know how their skill sets translate. And I don't think the Army does a great job helping them understand how to translate. We would put somebody up against a Harvard grad and you think, well, man, that's a Harvard grad. It's like, no, you're a two-time veteran of Afghanistan. You have so much to offer. You just don't know how to articulate it, and you don't know how to apply it in a private setting. And so, one of my favorite quotes is actually a mountaineer, a cameraman named Jimmy Chin. And he says, one of his quotes is just, commit, then figure it out. And I've really kind of taken that, and run with it in the boardroom about just being decisive. I think a lot of, corporate America, a lot of companies, they will ideate forever. Nobody wants to put their neck out. They don't want to take, they're very risk averse. And you really need to be able to rally your resources, figure out, different courses of action, and then actually, set out a vision. And so kind of applying that whole commander's intent, how do you kind of, organize your resources? How do you do that course of action analysis? But then give clear direction and go. And then, you can measure that as you go. You would know, whether it's an AAR or, things that you would do naturally in the military, bringing that kind of after action report and review to just missions in the boardroom with your company. There's a lot of value to that. I think a lot of corporate America misses that, commander's intent, decisive action, and then kind of that after action review that, the military just does for every operation.
And it's really funny, man. I've taken a lot of lessons, especially from doctrine. And for those of y'all that aren't familiar with the military terms, doctrine is really the guideline. It's the science behind everything the military does. And I've taken a lot of lessons out of that, especially when I noticed you were similarly went through Captain's Career Course or whatever form of captain training it was for you back in the day and way back in the day. Just so y'all know, he's quite older, guys.
It's all gray hair. That's why I shave it.
Hey, at least you have hair. Hey, but it's one of those. I did take a lot of action out of doctrine that I translated in my business. Obviously, the battle branding, everything I had for being a tactical leader. There's a lot that I like to play off of with that. But one thing I noticed in the military, and we kind of talked about, the military doesn't teach how to translate that experience. I feel like the military is great on the science of things, but maybe the art form isn't quite there, the art of leading, whereas here's the science of being a leader, right? Have you seen that in the transition into the civilian world as you've gone into business? Have you noticed there being a little bit of a blind spot of something you didn't learn from the military that you're now learning from the corporate world?
Yes and no. And I don't know that it's just an extrapolation of just, a data set. I found that it's almost, I guess it's the golden rule, it's 80-20. Like I found in serving, that about 80%, really love that, hierarchy, that organization. Like, we're always gonna, talk a little trash behind the scenes, but, there are people who feel comfortable in that. And I see that in corporate America. Like, I want to go, get a job at, Frito-Lay doing supply chain management. I'm going to get my business cards, and look, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But I'm going to get my business cards, my left and right limits, and, don't break anything, do this, and you'll make a decent living and, just stay in your lane. Then the other 20% is like, get me out of here. Like, I can't take it anymore. Like, just give me the reins. I need to go. Like, I don't have time for all this. I want to do things. And like, we saw that. I mean, 03, we're fighting a war that nobody's ever fought before. And so you have, a bunch of, colonels and majors trying to tell, a bunch of, younger NCOs and lieutenants, like, how to fight. And they're like, listen, I've been in 3 firefights since we got here. You don't know what it's like outside the wire. And so you kind of had to make things up as you go. And then supply chain hadn't been set up yet, so you're trying to figure that all out. So it's actually really entrepreneurial. And I know you saw this in Afghanistan as well. There wasn't really a playbook for a lot of this stuff. One day you're a trigger puller, another day you're a foreign aid worker, another day you're teaching kids something about life, or you're trying to negotiate a ceasefire. So I think that that 20% I found is just innovative as hell. They see the opportunity, and they see the possible, and you kind of need that. You need that balance. Not everybody can be a leader, and you need people who can just grind it out and do the work. But man, that 20% that likes to just see the possible and innovate, they're powerful, because not only do they have that discipline and that organizational skill set, it's what you're doing. You didn't have to start this. It's like, hey, I have something to offer. Now let me do the work to set up a platform. That's rare. I just think that there's a lot more people that could do that if they understood that, this was possible. So I think, I didn't feel like I needed to learn a bunch of, more things, talking to I was raising money for venture a lot of times, talking to, a money manager, not that really different than talking to a battalion commander. Half the time I'm kind of telling them what they want to hear, and then I'm like, gonna just go execute the way I know I need to execute. And so I think it just depends on what your experiences were in the military. I do think that, what's happened over the last, kind of 20 years has created a more entrepreneurial army, because you have smaller units, and those smaller units have more responsibility. And I think that doesn't allow you to hide as much behind the bureaucracy, as I think we used to in big force-on-force engagements, in NTC or something. Now it's like, all right, you got a squad, and this is your AO. Like, you gotta do everything. And I think that has really shown a lot of leadership at a small unit level that we didn't have in past armies. And so translating that, stateside, it's really going to be on corporate America, giving those young men and women an opportunity. So I love companies that have programs designed towards veterans, because it's really the access. The talent is there. It's just the access. So it's less about what, I needed, because I had the drive. It was more about finding access points in the private sector so that I could apply that drive.
And I like that. And I want to highlight, obviously, being a veteran. I mean, you served in a different engagement period than I did, with me being more recent in 2019, but you were over in Operation Iraqi Freedom. So you were in, for being realistic about the time you were there, in a much more kinetic time frame in the Middle East, where I did some stuff, but you did some shit. Just to kind of highlight, attached to the combat operations you did, and earned 2 Bronze Stars attached to that service. And what I find interesting about what you're talking about, and what you said at the top of the show, of how you've garnered positions that you have no qualifications for, quote unquote, right? So you look at your trigger puller with 2 Bronze Stars in the height of the conflict over there, now working into crypto and different areas and stuff I don't understand, right? But I want to kind of say that out there to the young soldier, the veteran that's transitioning, because that was one of the hard things for me, is transitioning. Okay, now what? And I still owned 6 businesses when I was transitioning, but I still had this perception of, okay, now what? Especially, we talked about the injuries, like you're getting kicked out, you're losing the uniform, the community. So having that transition can be really difficult. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you found your new identity of who you found self, right? And then garnered a position that you have no, quote unquote, we'll say it, quote unquote, you don't have any reason to be in a position in the space you're in, but because of the mindset and the things that you've been articulating, you got those positions, the proximity, you got those positions. Can you give that advice of how would you go about that to that transitioning veteran?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if, we always say like dogs can sense fear. I think humans can sense authenticity. They might not always say it. They might not always call you out on it. People in the, the further north you go, the more likely they'll call you out on it. But, a lot of people, I think, don't really understand how to just own who they are, and how to let that be present in, whatever moment, whether it's, a relationship that you're building or an opportunity you're seeking. I see it a lot where it's like, hey, I really like this job and I'd really like for you to hire me. It's like, no. It's a two-way street. Like, they need you just as much as you need them, unless you don't think they need you. And then that's going to come across. Like, you need to be able to walk into an interview, and when someone's, just think about the wealth of responses someone in service has had. And I say service, or, hell, organized sports for that matter. I mean, just, from team dynamics to overcoming, adversity to shared adversity. When you think about organizational dynamics, like what makes you part of a team or makes you a leader of a team, you should be able to walk into an interview and be confident that you deserve to be in that room. And I see it all the time where people will interview like, gee whiz, yes, sir, may I have another? Like, no, you just say, like, you need to ask the interviewer, like, what about this job is going to help me, build my, my toolkit? What are you going to do for me as a business? If your interview is all about them asking you questions, you've already missed the mark. You should be asking them questions. Why should I take this job? What do you like about this job? What do you like about the culture? And so I think, for me, when I got out of the military, I had probably one defining moment that I think has tracked this theme of doing things I wasn't qualified for. So I got out of the military and I thought, I don't want to have a boss. Like, I think people, come out of the military one of two ways. Either they like that organization, or they're like, I want to be my own boss. And I wanted to be my own boss. I knew it in my heart. And so I think for me, I started learning about kind of entrepreneurship, through my MBA. And there was like, right when my MBA started, there was this, Microsoft was having this pitch competition. And, I went in there and I'm kind of like nervous, and like, you had to come up with an idea, and then you had to just pitch it in this kind of, loose forum of like, but they had monopoly money. And I walked in and everybody's talking, and I'm like, I'm out of here. I left. I walked all the way back to my car, and I was like sitting in my car, and it was like this existential moment. And I was like, man, you know what you've been through? I mean, whether it was, the Army, Ranger School, West Point, high school, doesn't really matter. Like, you've accomplished so much. You have every right to be in that room. So get your ass back in there and just do it. So I went back in there, and embarrassed as hell, I just started pitching. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I won. It was like $5,000. And, ever since then, I've never not pitched. And so I never fancied myself a salesperson. I never really liked selling. But when I started like doing angel investing and then raising a venture fund, my other two partners weren't, sales oriented at all. So I was like, all right, F it, I'll do it. And so I just started pitching. And I was like, and it's that, you meet so many people where they're like, well, I'm not good in front of, speaking in public. Well, that's because you never speak in public. I'm not good at doing X, Y, Z. That's because you never do X, Y, Z. You got to start. And you'll get more comfortable with it as you go. But you got to be willing to accept that you are capable and that you can get it done. And I see that in the military. Like, you walk into a room, and when someone says, tell me why I should hire you over this Harvard grad, how much time do you have? I'll tell you why. Because I'll run circles around them. They've been sitting in school their whole life, reading from a book. That's not going to teach you what you need to do when, it hits the fan. What are you going to, will you break? Will you fold? You see people flipping jobs. Like, I've had, I've had a lot of different things, but it's been under two umbrellas. You got to have that stick-wittedness. And so I've always found myself comfortable in every room I'm in, no matter how old they are, young they are, smart they are. I have every right to be there, and I'm not going to let you treat me otherwise. And as long as you know your own value everywhere you go, people will respond to that, and they'll treat you like you deserve to be there.
Yeah, man, I love that. And it's one of those, it seems like the hot topic word is manifesting, right? You manifest it out there, you know, and it's really putting it out there. I don't particularly love that term because it's very woo-woo, right? Now, do I believe it? 100%. But
I was about to say, that's really spot on. Yeah.
But I mean, it's really putting that energy out there and returning. And I think something I learned, and I've used this line twice in the last week alone, where people have said, man, you're really cocky about something. And I'm like, I'm not cocky. I just don't go into a fight expecting to lose. I'm going into that fight 100%. To win. That, I think that's a big piece of the military. Like, I can see the military being a very arrogant force, 100%, but we don't lose. Like, that's the thing, right? We're trained, you go into that fight. So you go into an interview, you go into the boardroom, you're designed literally to not lose. And that's how the mindset, I think that exactly what you're talking about. You have to have that mindset of, I'm going to win. That's it. Like, I'm here. This is what's going to happen.
You ever heard of Marianne Williamson?
I haven't.
So I love that you just said that, and I'm gonna read part of this just because literally this is right behind my computer screen, and it's, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. That for me is exactly what you're talking about. It's like, I'm not going in to lose. People want you. When someone calls you cocky, that's not about you. That's about them. Your presence is intimidating them, and they want you to stop. And so, my mind is like, look, shine brighter. If you have a problem with my light, just go shine brighter. Don't try to dim my light. I'm going to be me, and I know, what I'm capable and what I'm not. But it doesn't mean you can't still be humble. Like, I'm not a jerk about it. But that confidence in situations based on a lifetime of experiences that only that's why you're confident. And by the way, you've created a platform where you are not only allowing people to manifest things about themselves to your audience, but you're sharing a lot of yourself. An interview is only good if it's both ways. So you're getting out of people. And so you're doing that day in and day out. Like, talk about somebody who can make people feel comfortable, not only in a one-on-one, but in an audience. You're talking to audiences all the time. And so you need to make people feel that personal relationship. You're not doing that because you're cocky. You're doing that because you're confident that you have something to give. Cocky is when you don't have anything to give and you're just loud because you want to distract because you're not adding any value. Confident is, I know I'm adding value, and I'm not going to let you treat me like I'm not.
Yeah. And I think that's such an interesting dynamic and mindset shift, because growing up, I was told I was cocky all the time. Right. And I think veterans, they'll be told, like, but again, we're trained to be the best. There is no second best in a war. When you're in a gunfight, there is no second best. When you're in a boardroom, you don't go in thinking you have the second best offering, or as an entrepreneur, you don't 100%. Go in thinking my product is the second best out there. You have the conviction to know, otherwise you shouldn't be selling that shit, right? Like, you don't, if you 100%. Don't believe in it, don't be out there talking about it. And what's funny about both instances, people asked me, well, what do you do? And I'm so confident in how I presented it. Oh, that's really cocky of you to say. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm confident in this is what I've got. The value set, right? And that's something that, man, I love. Again, it goes back to you being in positions that you have no reason to be in. Why are you in these positions? You talked about proximity. You talked about, obviously, you're operational minded. The COO side of it makes sense attached to what you're doing. Is it that confidence that you found? Like, yeah, absolutely, I can crush this piece of the business. You need me part of the team?
Yeah, I'll tell you, one story that kind of got me on this. After I did that pitch, it was right around the same time where I started doing a lot of angel investing, and I, wasn't, independently wealthy at the time. What ended up happening was, a lot of things. If somebody says take the hill, you're like, all right, I got this. You're not going to sit there and be like, I don't think I can. Like, so I like challenges. I like to know. I didn't have any. I didn't have a military family. I wasn't like, oh, I really want to go to your Ranger school. Just like, one of my friends was like, hey, you want to go with me? And I'm like, well, shit, if I say no now, it's like I didn't want to go. I'm like, all right, fuck it, I'll go. And so, this was like one of those situations. Same thing with the pitching. I was like, all right, you want to go? Yes. And I tried to leave, and I was like, oh, I can't quit on myself. And so when I was finally trying to network and try to figure out what career I wanted, I figured, okay, if I don't want a boss, then I kind of got to be an entrepreneur. But I don't have any idea that I'm really, I don't have any conviction about. So maybe the best thing I can do is learn from a bunch of different entrepreneurs. So I made a list of 100 people in Austin that I wanted to meet. Some were entrepreneurs, some were investors, anybody kind of tied to like, entrepreneurship, people that had spoken at, UT about before, people that respected. And I knew going into it that, look, old school sales, probably 50% of them are not even going to respond. 20% of them will respond but blow me off. And really, it's the 30% that I'm going to try to work. And one of them ended up being this guy who had just started an angel network, Central Texas Angel Network. And, I was like, hey, can I just, well, let me just help out. Like, I'm really good with organization. Let me be a fly on the wall. Maybe there's some value I can add. And so he's like, yeah, sure. Why don't you come to a meeting, see what it's all about? And it was like the third meeting. And so I got there, and the whole time I'm sitting there thinking like, and this is disorganized as hell. Like, it's all kind of chaos. And I mean, you imagine, you put a bunch of investors in a room, you put a bunch of chiefs in a room, they all become Indians. It was real, just kind of chaotic. And I was like, man, there's a lot of ways to improve the flow, just the process. I didn't have to have a college degree to know that. I looked at it from basically an SOP perspective. So standard operating procedure. I was like, all right, how do you know what to do and what to do for your investors and what to do for your entrepreneurs? So fast forward, like maybe 2 meetings, the old executive director of this angel network was gonna be told he needed to leave. So I asked him, I was like, hey, who are you gonna have replace this guy? And he was like, older guy, like 50 years old or something. And he starts explaining to me the replacement. He's like, well, this dude effectively explains Elon Musk. And I'm like, listen, I haven't been out of the Army that long, and I've only been in like 3 meetings, but I don't think Elon Musk is gonna run your angel network in Austin, Texas. And, and it was like, they wanted, somebody with like 5 different success stories, multi-millionaire. And I'm like, this is glorified secretary work. Like, I watched what this executive director is doing. He's just organizing people. And so this is where I think it's important. Rather than ask for anything, I went back to the drawing board. I went home, and I spent the next like month and a half, 6 weeks building an SOP for an angel network. It still exists today. So I wrote every possible contingencies flow. I created forms, how to do due diligence. And all I was doing was going online, seeing what best practices were, pulling it into like one coherent standard operating procedure. And then I got a meeting with the board, and I walked in and I said, listen, you don't need to hire who you think you need to hire. You need to hire me. And I'll do it for free because I'm about to go to school. So you don't need to pay somebody. You need somebody who has no ego and just wants to organize resources. And oh, by the way, boom, here's what I'm going to do. And I set down like a 200-page SOP on how to run an angel network. And they were like, you got the job. And so I turned that into the most active angel network in the country. I think it still is the most active angel network in the country. Out of that, we kept doing a lot of healthcare deals. And so I met a few people, and we ended up starting a venture fund only focusing on healthcare deals, so early stage healthcare deals. And that was, again, not qualified for it. Why the hell would I be doing any healthcare deals? So I steered our thesis to tech-enabled health services and health IT, because my thesis was, I want to do right by doing good. I want to be in healthcare because the world doesn't need another platform to check out Kim Kardashian's ass. And so let me, do this really cool, industry where if we fund a company and it's successful, it might help, people, save lives. It might help people feel better about their care. And oh, by the way, I'm not qualified to do anything in bioscience or biotech or anything in pharma. So let's do technology, because I love the idea of using technology to make inherently inefficient systems more efficient. Why? Because I hate inefficient systems. Anybody in the military will tell you, I hate, meetings for meetings before the meetings. And so let's make that more efficient. Once you hit me on my phone when we have a meeting. So, I focus a lot on getting into an opportunity and then not stagnating, being like, okay, what's next? Let's go. Like, not wanting to just, accept that win and then stop. And I think that's a very important aspect of human nature. People always talk about goal setting. They always want to do, take the mountain, take the hill. But what at least excites me, and I think if people are honest about it, they excites themselves, is the progress. It's the journey. I like being in the gym. I don't like being done with the gym. I love working out. I hate when I'm done just drinking my shake, going home. Like, man, I can't wait to work out tomorrow. It's like, so I think I love the idea of never settling. And it's not that I can't accept the small wins, but it's that hunger, never losing sight of where you're trying to go. And I've just done that consistently, from the time I, started working, I guess.
I love that. And I think I can encapsulate all of that by straight up calling you just a nerd, like a 200-page SOP.
True.
Only like an Army officer can do, man. I love that. And all joking aside, like the beauty of that, and this is something that I mean, I do it on this podcast. I never related it back to the military, but you do recon, right? You do recon, you gather
Yeah.
intel. And I do it with
Yeah.
this podcast. I already know who my guest is. I'm very particular about who comes on this show. I look at their background. I look at their about section. I look at the website. I have Phunware pulled up in the background. It's all about research. So you have an educated conversation about whatever you're conversing about, right? And that's a big piece of what it sounds like you're doing is like, here's the intel. Here's the recon I did on it. Here's not the problem. Here's the solution or a solution that I'm recommending. And this is how I'm going to help you implement it. I think that right there is so key of what a veteran can bring to an organization.
Yep. I still remember this time. I think we were in, it was Florida. So it was swamp phase. And like, I mean, like anybody hadn't been in the military doesn't just know how like kind of silly, you can be when you're with your buddies. And like, you always want to be like, cool and heroic, but it's not always that way. And like we rolled up to this, this clearing, and like this is now, ranger was almost done. We're tired, we're wet, and we had just dried off, and now it's like this big, just nasty looking like swamp, just horrible. And like nobody wanted to like get in this. We're all kind of like hesitating, like trying to find a way around it, and RI just starts throwing simulators behind it. So you got to go. And so then it's like, now it's like, move it to contact. You're doing all these things. Everybody just, piled into this mud. And, I think there's something to be said for just getting it done. You can be too cute sometimes. And I see that a lot now in, the private sector. Take engineering, for example. Engineers will engineer something to death. You'll miss the opportunity because you're still trying to fix a feature, or you're trying to take one more action item or do one more ideation or one more brainstorming, where what you need to do is get it into the hands of a customer, and then they'll tell you what they like and what they don't like about it. But people are so afraid of that accountability. They're so afraid to take the leap. And sometimes you need RD sim in the back of your, the back of your butt to get you moving. And that might be bankruptcy. It could be, you got a kid on the way. I mean, there's all sorts of simulations that will make you move. There's a real famous quote that says, no one ever changes until the pain of remaining the same outweighs the pain of change. And I think that is from some of my, the advice I give a lot to people, especially in the kind of the entrepreneurial realm, where they'll come to me because we do a lot of mobile software, and they'll be like, okay, I have this idea for an app, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And I'm like, you can get in your car with your cell phone and a pen and paper and replicate that entire business model to prove that it's actually worth something before you start building an app. Why aren't you doing that? People talk about delivery services or something. This guy he was pitching me the other day. He used to be actually an RI. He's down in San Antonio. Great guy. And I think he's hungry. He wants to do something, but he was thinking about building an app that would do basically delivery of convenience store items. And I'm like, forget the app. Go put convenience store items in your truck, drive around, knock on doors, see if anybody will buy them from you. You might find that the margin's not there. You might find that nobody cares. You might find that, people love it and they're willing to pay a premium. You don't know until you get in the mud and try. And guess what? Most successful entrepreneurs fail 5-6 times before they ever find their first success. So you need to start failing, and don't worry about that. You're going to fail. That's okay. What did you learn from it? How quickly, if you're going to fail fast. So I think a lot of things is just getting in the mud and getting it done.
Yeah, man. I love, even Edison said, right, he didn't find the way to make the light bulb. He found 999 ways to not make a light bulb, right?
Yeah.
So you keep going
that.
until, and it's something, and you'll relate to this, man. One of the lessons I took out of the military and correlate into the civilian world, that a lot of people, the analysis paralysis or the engineering it to death, right?
Yes.
They always think, all right, you have to get set, then you aim, and then you fire. And a big piece of where I've really tried to shift that rhetoric among my own clients is you get ready, and then you fire, and then you aim. And you start pivoting. COVID's such a perfect example, right? Nobody could have predicted that. And if you weren't ready to pivot a little bit, how many people got crushed in COVID? And I love that lesson, right? Take your shot and then start pivoting, start aiming a little bit until you get it right. And I want to highlight, before we wrap up, obviously the organization, the COO of Phunware. Overall, it's a mobile software that exhibits game-like mechanics and behavior so brands can contextually engage customers and drive digital transformation. That's the nerd talk. Let's hear the real
Yeah,
talk.
that's a lot of buzzwords.
A lot of buzzwords. Tell us, what is Phunware? What are y'all doing? Give us some insights.
Yeah, you remember that old, I feel like I'm dating myself now. You remember Minority Report with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, it was before I was born, right? Came out.
I know. I knew that was coming. Right when I started to say it, I was like, man, hold on, let me get my cane. Now, so that movie, or once I'm fully pregnant, it's in. So we'll go back to the Future 2. You were definitely not born when that came out. So Back to the Future 2, Michael J. Fox and that big shark that almost eats him, or in Minority Report when he's walking through the mall and all the advertisements are personalizing to him, holograms popping up. That's digital transformation. It's basically saying, I want to make how you engage with brands contextual. I want to get you the right content on the right screen at the right time in the right place in order to make a profitable decision. And so, it is literally, it's going to be the future of how you engage with smart spaces. So, when you show up to a venue, rather than you being like, hey, Siri, and trying to find something, your phone's going to spring into action. It's going to turn into a mobile concierge, and it's going to help you find things you didn't even know about. So we were talking about when you were down in Austin, and part of this is with the phone first. Now we're doing augmented reality, but similar to like Pokemon Go, you can basically put your phone up to a street on rainy and then see digital overlays of the real world. Come in here, buy one, get one drinks, or go take this action, or do this thing that might be interesting to you based on who you are, what's around you, what's most important to you. So everything we've designed, both indoors and out, is about how to engage someone when they're most likely willing to pay attention. And how do we tech enable some experience? And so, healthcare, rather than just having a directory with some staff, when you show up, let's say near and dear to our hearts, let's say you're a double amputee, or you might need some assistance once you get there. And, how does that all happen? Like, do you have to get out? Somebody drops you off. Now you're looking for, support, somebody to guide you to where you're going. You should just have a wheelchair waiting for you. You should have somebody, taking you to where you need to be so you're not getting lost. Like, all that should just happen. But how does that all happen? That's contextual engagement. And so we're doing that now with software, and then we're layering in blockchain, which is exciting, because if I can locate you and I can gauge you, what if I can incentivize that engagement? So now I can say, hey, Zach, for, 100 fun token, will you watch this video on this product that you're standing right next to in Target? I'm right here, so why not? You're going to give me something to watch a video? Cool, I'll do that. Or, hey, Zach, will you go to this location for this reward? So we're engaging people with incentive structures. That's Fun Token. You can actually buy that right now. So just buy.funtoken.com. And then as you do that, you're teaching data companies who you are and what's important to you. You're making your data more valuable. People sell that data all the time. And so what we're trying to build now is the ability for users to get compensated every time their data is sold. So I told you something about myself. You gave me Fun Token for that, just for engaging with you. But your data set became smarter and more valuable. Now you sold that data to another brand in order to give me personalized advertisements. Well, I'm going to pay you in Funcoin for that. So we actually have two different digital assets built on blockchain, Fun Token and Funcoin. They're allowing us to kind of create a richer ecosystem designed around engagement. So it's pretty cool. It's all happening right now. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. It's going to be, and I guess you already have it, right? I have an Alexa in here that is listening to everything I say anyways, right? And all of a sudden, Amazon knows exactly what I need to buy, and I have to refill my toothpaste, right? Is it essentially going to start creating more of that type of engagement where that thing you need, that to-do list, whatever it is going to be kind of formulated for you?
We want to put it a little bit more consumer facing. So, we do a lot in hospitality, for example. So, in a hospitality world, if you are using either a website or a mobile app, what do? Maybe you look at a calendar, you do check in, check out, give them some, select the room, some payment information, and get a confirmation page. That's as much as you engage with any hotel today. With our application, it's totally different. So we would basically do all your valet from your phone. You get your valet ticket to your phone. You basically select whether or not you need help with your luggage. The minute you walk in the front door, we would send you keys directly to your phone. You'd use your phone to access the elevator, use your phone to access your hotel room. You can actually order food or drink anywhere, from anywhere on the property from your phone. So say you're in Vegas, you're at blackjack, you're playing, rather than looking around for the waiter and asking the dealer where the hell is the waiter, you just order it from your phone. And then if you get up and go play the slots, they'll just find you. And so it's all about tech enabling real world experiences, but we live in a mobile first world. So we use mobile as that platform to engage you. But I don't want you to think about mobile like a big screen to just watch movies and, fight with people about politics and mandates that you don't know anything about. But I want you to use this as a mobile computer that I can access you with, because it's location aware. It knows more about what's in the virtual world that's important to you than you do. And it knows where you are in the real world. So how do we bring that all together to create these really rich experiences in the real world? You got to have a mobile platform that's extensible that can do that. And so that's kind of what we're building.
That's absolutely fascinating. That's going to be a lot of fun long term. I mean, it just
With
kind
a
of
PH.
simplifies. Yeah, there it is. A lot of fun with a PH. I love it, man. It sounds like it's just fascinating tech, man. And it's obviously already on the roll. And I want to give, before we go, I want to know there's a lot you have going, from the military to all the things you've done, totally out of your realm, right? Where you're really, if you're not inspired by your journey and you're a veteran out there, like, this is inspiring, because literally you can go accomplish what we want to accomplish, right? And I want to know, with everything you're doing, man, what's the legacy you're looking to leave on the world as you're doing all these amazing things?
That's a great question. My legacy really, I mean, I think we all have a different measure. I do more speaking now, and I enjoy it because honestly, I get to meet people like you. But my legacy is measured, very small. It's measured in the eyes of the children that I haven't had yet. So I keep thinking about, like, everything I do, everything I say, there's an old adage in entrepreneurship world where it'd be like, if you were going to write this email and it was going to be published on the New York Times tomorrow, would you write it the same way? Or, would you say it the same way? And it's just kind of a check on, are you putting out into the world the energy that you really want to put out? So I think about that with my kids. My legacy is for my kids. It's literally like, I want to be able to look and say, I never left an opportunity worse than when I arrived. I constantly strive to add value, and I constantly strive to do it in a way that never, hurt anyone else. Like, I love lifting people up. Like, I don't, that idea, I'm an abundant, Grant Cardone talks about this all the time, living a life of abundance. There's plenty for everybody. It's not a zero-sum game. You can create, lightning in a bottle. You just have to have the willingness and the initiative to do it. And so I really find, like, in this day and age, perseverance and consistency is a superpower. So, like, my legacy is just, I never stopped. Like, and people kind of will say, like, oh man, like, chill out, slow down. Like, if your dreams don't make people worry about you, you're dreaming too small. But I don't do it for recognition. I do it because I just, if God gave you gifts, or whatever you believe in, if the universe gave you gifts, evolution gave you gifts, training gave you gifts, some religious, figure gave you gifts, and you're not using them, what are you doing? They always say that human beings are the only species on a planet that will live less than what they're capable of doing. A lion will be the best lion it can be. A bird will be the best bird it can be. Only humans live below our potential. And I never want to do that. So, like, I want my legacy for everyone who's met me to be like, man, that dude's fired up and he never stopped and he keeps cranking and he's always trying to add value, always makes time for other people, and he loves dogs.
I love it, man. It's such a great legacy to be leaving, and you're already well on your way. What's the best way for the audience to reach out to you, follow you, connect with you, but also with Phunware and everything you're doing over there?
Yeah, absolutely. Easy. So, Phunware with a PH. So Phunware. So Phunware.com. You can find me on just about everything at Randall Crowder. So RANDALLCROWDER. If you want to find out some of the things that we're doing at Phunware, especially around crypto, funtoken.com, and you can buy it. And so it's buy.funtoken.com. And then Funcoin is just funcoin.com. So, and then, all that is managed by an actual mobile application you can download today and start earning Fun Token. And that's called Fun Wallet. So funwallet.com. So you can go to Phunware, find all this stuff. You can find me on LinkedIn, Randall Crowder, Instagram, Randall Crowder. It's all the same. I'm easily accessible. I'm pretty transparent. And I'm pretty responsive. I try to help people when I can, even if, I think, what's that other quote, you're defined by, what you do for people who can't help you. So, if I can help others, I always try to. So if I can be a resource to anybody, especially veterans, please reach out, let me know how I can help. And this was, honestly, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your community. This has been a real treat for me.
Man, I love it. Randall, thanks for your time. Thanks for the energy, my friend. And we'll definitely chop it up on Tactical Friday. So everybody come back and listen on that one.
Absolutely. And we'll chop it up next time you're in Austin.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tactical Friday. And you heard from him this past Monday. I am blessed to be bringing Randall Crowder back onto the show to talk a little bit more about Phunware and everything he's doing. Randall, welcome back, my friend.
I appreciate it. And I hope everybody got a chance to check out on Monday. I mean, the way you structure these weeks are incredible. They're so dialed in to helping people understand not only what your speakers are doing, but what they can do, in their own lives to kind of relate to or get engaged with the speakers. So this is super cool.
Man, I'm excited because I love the Tactical Friday piece because, we were able to fall in love with you this past Monday. But really, this is the part where we can really get involved and take action. And I don't think we quite hit the scale of what Phunware and Fun Tokens and Funcoin and everything you have going in that tech side. I mean, this is something that's traded on the NASDAQ. I mean, it is a large thing that is going places. But I want to give the audience an opportunity. How do we get involved? What do we do next? What is that really strong call to action to jump in on everything you're doing?
Absolutely. I'm gonna talk on two. So first, Phunware, the company, ticker symbol is PHUN. Like Zach said, we're traded on NASDAQ. We've got a lot of attention on the stock. We've actually been the top gainer on NASDAQ in terms of price and in terms of volume, probably like 5 or 6 times now. Last month, or actually, in October, we went 24x in 24 hours. So a lot of people, found Phunware that way because I still got people, emailing me, pictures of their bank account. When you see people telling you they made over $1 million on your stock in a single day, that gets people's attention. It makes me feel great. And so we've got a really exciting company.
Hang on, whoa. Don't gloss over that. Hang on a second. Hang on. I'm gonna hit the pause button on you glossing over somebody texting that they made $1 million. So this is something that's wildfire right now. I mean, it really is something that's moving and grooving pretty hard.
People are getting it. I mean, we've been trending, worldwide for a while now. And so, and it's because of the platform we built and what we can really do with it. And there's a lot of exciting things we're doing both in the software realm. And we talked about this on Monday, but, this idea of using your mobile phone to better engage you, not just for you to consume content, but I know where you are. I know what's around you. I know what's important to you. I want to engage you in that moment. And so we call that contextual engagement. And so that's that futuristic stuff. When you walk past an advertisement and all of a sudden it's like, hey, Zach, what's up? Like, how does that happen? Like, I need to locate you and engage you. Or, hey, based on your purchase history, will you take this action? So all of that is what our platform was designed to do. So that's Phunware, the primary company. But part of that engagement that we've done more, recently ties into the blockchain world, which I know everybody's excited about. And so the big idea in blockchain is, can we create a truly decentralized data economy? So like right now, Facebook and Google, they're like, it's as if somebody drove up on your land, like, hey, Zach, I'm gonna start drilling for oil and, stay out of the way. And you're like, but it's my land. Like, you can't just drill my oil. They're like, yeah, but it's our drill. We paid for the drill. Get out of the way. You're like, yeah, I got that, but it's my land. Like, you can't do that. No, we're going to do it anyways. Go over there and don't make any noise. That's what people are doing to your data. Data is now the most valuable asset on the planet. Facebook and Google have been drilling for your data forever. They are data oligarchs. And you know how much money they pay you for it? Nada. And so as everybody thinks about the rise of Bitcoin, what's Bitcoin trying to do? Bitcoin is trying to disintermediate the banks. The banks have been raping and pillaging for, centuries, and they don't really tell you what they're doing. They're masters of the universe. And the big idea behind Bitcoin was, what if we don't need them? If I want to send Zach $1 million, or actually, if Zach wants to send me $1 million, which I think sounds better. If Zach wants to send me $1 million, then we've got to go through a bank and all these approvals and wire fees and delays. And the idea of Bitcoin is, why? his money. He can do whatever he wants, right? So what if we could do the same thing to data? What if we could take Facebook and Google out of the equation? If brands want to advertise to you, they got to go to you. And if they want your data, they've got to pay you for it, like any other free market. So that's what we're building. We're building a decentralized data economy that allows every consumer to be rewarded for engaging with brands, telling brands what they want. And then if brands buy your data, you get rewarded for that as well. So let's say I go to Zach and I say, are you in the market for a car in the next 6 months? And you're like, yeah, or no. Actually, either answer is valuable to me. So let's say you say yes. I'm going to put you in an audience segment that says you're interested in buying a car. Now, a couple of days later, BMW comes to the Phunware and says, hey, I want to advertise to anybody in your ecosystem that's interested in buying a car. I'm like, great. Zach just told me he wants to buy a car. And so Zach's playing words with friends, and a couple of days later, and he sees an advertisement for the new model, some BMW. Well, I sold your data to BMW in order to make that ad present on your phone, but I'm going to pay you for it. I got money from BMW for your data, so I'm going to give you Funcoin for that. So I'm going to give you Fun Token for engaging with me and telling me a little bit about yourself or taking actions that are interesting to a brand. Then I'm going to give you Funcoin if I sell your data based on what you told me. So it's this really cool, virtuous ecosystem that kind of creates this, if anybody's read Jim Collins' Good to Great, it creates a flywheel effect where I'm trying to engage you. People are willing to buy. They hate to be sold. And so Fun Token in this model becomes kind of our picks and shovels. Funcoin becomes a gold mine. They're both valuable in different ways. But what's really cool is we're really the only public company commercializing a true consumer-driven cryptocurrency ecosystem. And so we've got a utility token and Fun Token. You can buy it right now. So call to action, buy.funtoken.com. You can buy it right now. You can also download Fun Wallet on iOS and Android. Remember, it's Fun with P-H-U-N. Fun Wallet on iOS and Android. You can actually download it and you can begin earning it for all these engagements that we're talking about. So answering questions about what brands you enjoy. And soon we're going to roll out more features like rewarded video, going to certain points of interest, taking certain actions, referring friends. So you can either buy Fun Token or you can earn Fun Token. And then in parallel, what's really cool with Funcoin is it's actually a regulated security. So Funcoin is going to be launching on a platform called Securitize. Securitize is effectively the blockchain NASDAQ. So it's the very first licensed kind of trading platform at scale that if you have a security token that's regulated, you have to have it on an actual licensed trading platform. And so that'll be launched. That's actually launching right now. So we have two really unique crypto assets driving this kind of truly decentralized data economy. And really, it's an opportunity for consumers to get in on the ground level. It's something that's like really exciting. You think about, just the crap that people are chasing right now in the blockchain world, things with dogs on them. I love dogs, but let me tell you, there's no value, there's no utility in any of that other than online gambling. We're actually commercializing an ecosystem that could be the future of how data is consumed and how consumers are rewarded. So if you think about just like Amazon, I always say, in a world where everything that you buy is Amazon enabled, I want all of your experiences to be Phunware enabled. And we're going to use blockchain to make that seamless so that consumers are rewarded every step of the way for their engagement. And it's a really big idea, but look, Amazon saw where the puck was headed. They built unbeatable competitive advantages to create an on-demand cloud ecosystem in AWS, an on-demand mall in Amazon, long before people realized they wanted stuff on demand. The future of engagement is going to be contextual, and it's going to be rewarded. And so we're building that platform now. It's going to be a game changer. So really exciting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds really crazy attached to obviously tech. I mean, tech is just going in places that a lot of people don't see because I'm not tuned into blockchain. I never looked into crypto. I mean, that's one of those, I am a late adopter at best. So I didn't catch that fun wave that you're riding right now. But when you look from the consumer standpoint right now with your organization, long term, obviously the tech's going to be there. It's going to be really exciting for our experiential engagement. But if we want to get involved with this piece of the coins and everything you're doing with the software, is it something that we can invest in now that is going to have that
Yeah.
big ride on the crypto world?
Yeah, so you have three ways to kind of take action now. You can actually, just like, so, as you familiarize, and I really encourage you, and we can rip on this another time, but, let's really, really learn about blockchain now, because it's not like a crazy fad. It's really very real utility, and it's transformational. So like in 1995, there were people going like, what's the internet? Well, we're doing that right now. People are like, what's crypto? Well, it's the future. And so how we decentralize things is how you restore control and power back to people, back to society. It's how you begin to disintermediate all the people in the middle who've kind of been cheating in the middle. They've kind of been messing with things in the middle. They've been manipulating things in the middle. The idea behind blockchain is radical transparency. It's not anonymity. Don't let people confuse you. A lot of people think like, oh, I'll never have to pay taxes again. That's not the big idea. The big idea is that you can eliminate fraud. If you ran elections on blockchain, you'd eliminate fraud. If you ran the stock market on blockchain, you would eliminate all naked shorting, dark pools, silliness, that public market manipulation that really screws over retail investors. So this idea of leveraging blockchain to shine a light on how transactions should be done in a trustless way is revolutionary. It's game changing. And so it's literally, it could literally save society. This is such a big idea. People need to be paying attention to it. And so when you think about our ecosystem, first thing I would do, I would learn about Phunware, because the umbrella company you can invest in right now. You can go to Robinhood, TD Ameritrade, look up the ticker symbol PHUN. You can invest right now, and you'll see, a lot of people talking about our stock. It's made a lot of people a lot of money along the way. It's an exciting stock to be in. A lot of people are tracking us. But then if you really like what we're doing and you like what we're doing with cryptocurrency, I would go to buy.funtoken.com. buy.funtoken, again, PHUNTOKEN.com, buy.funtoken.com. That's a purchasing portal. You can buy Funtoken right now, just like, you could buy Dogecoin. So I would recommend people, do that. And then I would also download Phunwallet on iOS or Android in order to manage, the Funtoken that you buy, the Funtoken you earn. And then as we roll out Funcoin, you'll be able to manage that there as well. And so you have a corporate company that you can invest in. It's pretty much one of the only public companies that has a consumer-facing cryptocurrency. And again, that's the future. The future of crypto rests with real companies solving real problems in the real world. We're not some real shady, seedy, one guy in Romania, a couple kids in Colombia, trying to create the facade of a company. You can find us. We're audited. We're regulated. We're a real company. And you can get involved by either investing in the corporate company. If you don't want to invest in crypto directly, just invest in the corporate company as a public company stock. Or you can also invest in the cryptocurrency directly. You can control that and be a part of this new data economy. And then you can sign up on Phunwallet so that you can begin earning based on engagement or based on your data being sold. So Phunware, Funtoken, download Phunwallet, and then soon, if you're tracking us on Twitter, Instagram, wherever, we put out a lot of content. We'll announce when you can start getting involved with Funcoin. That'll be next year.
Man, I love it. I appreciate that opportunity. And just looking at, just pulling up the stats from the NASDAQ. You're up 127% over the last few months. So, the growth is there, and it's showing, man. So I appreciate the opportunity of you bringing this to the audience. And I definitely encourage everybody, go check it out. Go check out Phunware, check out how we can get involved, and obviously support a fellow brother in arms, where this is something, man. The fact that you're doing this as a Army guy, geez, props to you for positioning yourself in this world, man. And I appreciate all the value, the insight, and the opportunity you've brought to us today, my friend.
I appreciate it. Same. Thank you for what you're doing, and across, not only, the veteran community, but just, look, I know you do a lot more than that. You're speaking, to just amazing corporations. You're speaking to amazing people. You're an inspiration for a lot of folks. And so, keep shining, your light shining bright. It's not cocky, it's confident, and keep inspiring other people, because every time you talk to people, people think, man, I want to be like that guy. So, great energy. It's an honor to be on, your platform. I appreciate you having me. So thank you.
All right, this will be the solo cast attached to Randall Crowder, and should be released Wednesday of the week of his content. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Tactical Leader. Today is going to be a solo cast with yours truly, and my takeaways and self-application attached to what Randall Crowder talked about this past Monday. Before we begin, I remind you about the Battle Space community. If you haven't heard yet, I am over on beatacticalleader.com, creating different things for people that are really driven to take action. That's the big thing I'm focusing on, is high action takers, high performers that want to change what we're doing in 2022 and really focus on building a business, building a brand, and overall discovering their voice through podcasting. I'm going to be doing a monthly webinar series attached to that right there, discovering your voice, claiming your independence, and overall building a thriving business in 2022. So head over to beatacticalleader.com and find out more info there. I really enjoyed the conversation with Randall. He was a Army vet as well. And as you know, I love having Army vets come on the show because it ends up being just a fun conversation to chop it up and really have a good time overall. And he and I had a little bit even longer than normal conversation before we started recording. We talked for about half an hour, really kind of just BSing about the military world and different things that we both had in common, and how we both really strive in the operational aspect of business, and really just overall enjoyed having a conversation with him. I mean, super cool dude, super smart guy. He's one of those that I think will surprise you when you think about an Army veteran and then you start jumping into a conversation. I found there have been preconceived notions by some about where our areas of expertise lie, and not just in pulling triggers, but also with him. I mean, he's got the tech space, crypto area really kind of highlighted in what he's doing in that whole realm with Phunware, and that's PHUN ware, WARE. Some really high level stuff that he's really highlighting. It's traded on the NASDAQ, so publicly traded. You can go invest and really be part of his movement. But what I want to highlight is a lot of what I've heard in the veteran community, and really the transition community in general, where it can be somebody going from corporate and entrepreneurship, a veteran or law enforcement officer heading into the corporate world or into entrepreneurship. Really just overall the identity piece that I loved his confidence. And we really hit the nail on the head and the part of the conversation we had about not going into a fight, not going into an interview thinking you're going to lose, have the mindset of winning, and have the conviction to know that you are the best solution for whatever you're striving for. And I think that's a big shift that I've realized, and what I've had to do over the years is really focusing on having the confidence and recognizing, and it's essentially like a sales tactic, right? Or a sales process where you have the conviction to say, I am the best option for this. My service, my product is the best option here. I'm the best person to be on your team. And it's not that you're cocky about it, and not that you're arrogant about how good you are. It's that you have to have the conviction to know you are who you are, you offer what you offer, and know that you are a great addition to whatever that person's looking for. And it's not just every position, right? I don't say that about everything. I don't say that about something that I'm not the best option for, right? If you want a sales consulting firm, well, guess what? I don't have a sales consulting firm, nor am I a sales consultant. I can connect you to somebody, and that would be exactly the conversation that I would have, is I can connect you to somebody that's amazing in that realm and is a great option for you. but I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and tell you that I am the best option for that. Right. But in the operation space, if you need something built and structured and you don't have clarity and vision attached to where you're going, or you are interested in launching a podcast, or you have something in the realm of security analysis, right? Physical security, right? Those are areas where I strive. And those are areas that I am very confident in my capabilities. Even the production company, we look at my own production company. I can talk to you about marketing. I can talk to you about branding. I can talk to you about strategy. Am I a marketing strategist? No. Am I a branding expert? No. Do I know some of those people? Absolutely. Have I learned over the years? Definitely. Can we have an intelligent conversation and get you in the right direction? For sure. But I'm not going to sit down. And if you're looking for a branding expert, I'm not going to sit down and tell you I'm the best expert in branding that you've ever had, because I don't have that conviction, because it's not true. So I think really a big step toward this direction is identifying what you're really good at, identifying what you're really passionate about. Make sure those two things align, because a lot of times they don't. But make sure those two things align, that you're really good at what you're really passionate about. And then tell the world, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm good at. And this is what I can offer you. And be confident. And I love something Randall said, that really, if somebody calls you cocky, it's their own insecurities surmounting to their own limitations, and you're making them uncomfortable with your level of confidence. And I think that can be applied in so many ways by so many people, and is something that should really be considered as we're moving into 22. I'm recording this in mid-December, so this will probably be released in around February of 2022. But the realization is that you have to have that confidence. You have to have that conviction that you are amazing and you're the best offer at whatever you're offering. Otherwise, you shouldn't be offering it. There's a level of integrity there that we have to uphold in order to be able to say it confidently that you're the best. Some interesting conversation points there. I really enjoyed that part of the conversation with Randall, and I think that's something we can all take away and we can all learn from and do better with when we know we're the best option for what somebody's looking for. I think that's really all. That's all I've got. I'm excited to hear about where he goes Friday. I'm excited to have the conversation with him. We're going to kind of delve into more of the crypto. I am not a blockchain guy, crypto guy, Dogecoin, whatever coin. I'm not that guy. So it's really fascinating to me to talk to him about his knowledge there, because I see the value of what he's building. I see a lot of where the trajectory is going. Like, this stuff's around us. It's going to stay. It's going to stick. Right. So if you're not an early adopter, or you're a late adopter, or you're non-adopter, should we be looking at that? I think that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about with Randall on Friday, and really getting tactical about the next steps towards those things. So tune back in this Friday. And if you missed the first conversation, getting to know Randall, head back over to Monday's episode. And until then, I will catch y'all next time.